Yeah, I want to say this real quick before I um, deviate and get way off again. But anyway, yeah, I was wanting because I was thinking about that blue and purple bird, the bird of Israel, being blue and purple. I was talking about the P being visible, and anyone with like normal standard, up to at least at least the thought of being in high school anyway, would know that when you see the P, it's pronounced sometimes and not pronounced, and it's kind of like the thing with that blue and purple bird, okay? The Israeli bird and some absolute Christianity and what that night vision is to the equator that way between like Deep Star 6 the movie and just like night vision in that way of nanoluminance, the same principle of night vision, ultimately getting once again real quick about the 13 band graphic equalizer and the nanoluminance of night vision is the deal about the nanoluminant colors of pastel green and pastel red of nanoluminance on of the nanoluminant pastel green and pastel red of night vision, okay, on the 13-band graphic equalizer. Those are the only two about the 13-band graphic equalizer. That's about the impedance and ambience and what that is to the alpha and omega in the way, what is to the American Amplified Living Bible in the way of that one word in the book of Thessalonians, and what night vision is, and still thinking that there's still light and you can see, okay. And the thing about it, the alphanumeric is 192. And the word transfiguration, re-entering heaven thing about the, what night vision is and what the 13 band graphic equalizer is to like a pastel and what that is to the history of the television screen and a whole bunch of stuff. And in my mind, I think about the color code and night vision in a way of what the Oracle Corporation Houston seems to be a considerable amount just based on, available information. I mean, just on a laptop, really. Not limited to, but yeah. Simulate, something about the night vision in that way, and what seems to be, the seems difference between a DBA database administration, middleware, and firmware. Yeah, and what that is to maybe the history of the television screen is phenomenally, or conversion from analog to digital in that way. What pastel is, even a like a not really a trimester, but a duration, and if that's really something about intellectual of what universal is, or what international banking systems really suggest, or what money is, with every monies in every nation, in every country. I was thinking about something in that way because, the thing about, in my mind, about absolute Christianity and the 6-point star of David, the flag of Israel, and the deep star 6 of, the color code, okay? And what night vision is between, and the birds, and about the color code, and the Israeli bird being blue and purple, and when you see the P, it's pronounced, and when you don't, and you still see it, and it's not pronounced. And what Wyatt Earp and the Earp and exclusionary rule provision has to do with exclusionary rule provision and executive powers as far as sovereign immunities and governmental amnesties. And what that is, it's kind of like I was looking at that absolute Christianity thing about my perception of what the flag really is. That way of a Christian religion, not limited to, including, the Book of Mormon, the American thing about, religion and all the Book of Mormon is Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, okay? But anyway, there's a lot about that, okay? But I'm focusing on, just the thing about Earp and purple and what Wyatt Earp is to Hop Sing and John Wayne, or, what the Lord's Supper is to the baptism and the Secrets of the Temple, how the Federal Reserve runs the country, and that triangle thing, and what Oldsmobile Delta 88 is to, Trump, or, California, or purple, and what the bird, the blue and purple bird is, and when the P is pronounced, and when the P is not pronounced, it's like the alphanumerics of like 112 in Houston with the blue and purple. And it's like absolute Christianity in the way of what, proper English grammatical composition is to proper English grammatical composition. And it's like, with the P visible, and it being silent, and that, the blue and purple about the whoopa, the Israeli bird, I mean, it equates to 112 in Houston, okay? And likewise, the same thing about even COVID-ID, okay, when the P is still visible and not pronounced, and not included with alphanumerics, it's like the thing about the 88 becoming 72, like money, or brown, or, the color money, what that is to, and something else I want to focus on real quick is about the border, something that was said in presidential terms in office about the border, and something about, the white all around the U.S., the border around every U.S. dollar is like the white thing. And before I forget about it, there's something, I was thinking about it. Anyway, but I wanted to mention that because I'm going to go over this again. But I'm just going to do this. I don't even know what time it is. It's already dark. But anyway, I'm probably going to turn some lights on. I might or might not. I might feel like it a little later on. But anyway, about the border being white, it's just like really something I'm looking at on my wall. I'm sitting here looking at a picture of my mother. Ever since she passed away, I mean, I've kept that one picture. And I'm looking at it because it has the white borders around it. I mean, it's just like the direction. I mean, everything is like I'm looking at it. It's kind of like in the direction of the picture where it was placed. I mean, it's kind of like I'm like looking at it for real, right? And it just seems to have that significance of direction, and it's kind of like a whole new perception. I mean, for real. But anyway, and what that is to a lot of things that I'm not going to do right now about, but I just want to keep this on video to keep this in mind before I decide if I'm going to be an hour long thing about just talking. But man, I have a huge amount of information, but I try to get it in as soon as I can and say what I have to say because yeah, because I mean it's a huge amount of information. But anyway, yeah, so it's common and it's broad and combining and really grasping, how huge it is and really grasping, what might be only significant in one person's life or geographically or, even the degree level or what opportunity is or, what that is. Once again, I'm going to get back on real quick because it's already, I don't know, I probably already, did several videos totaling probably close to maybe 45 minutes already. But anyway, yeah, so there was something about that and, about the color of money and the blue and purple bird because 88 minus 16 is 88, 78, 72. Yeah, anyway, it's like 72 and all that stuff about the color of money and brown and the world and now it's kind of like the white earth, the pronunciation of when purple is and when the P silent like erp and the LE being like 17, it's like Lee. LA is like an FBI thing. It's like it's the difference between L and Lee, or what Texas and Mexico is, and obviously, yeah, it seems to be something about the equator as well, and what computer architecture and platform is to the equator, and what a degree level of opportunity. If opportunity is the only issue of the equator involving embedding an encryption, or what availability means in that way, or what really it suggests as far as I've heard many times about what reputable standards of consensual participation, but really the thing about it is that if it's ultimately getting to an equator and what an operator is, or what the equator is geographically, or its practical application as far as degree level and computer programming and computer language that way of what the word is, seemingly the biggest thing, it's like a Rush song. I mean, really, it's kind of like Rush is like one of the bands. It's like one of the first bands. I actually chose Neil Peart. I used to pronounce it quite a bit about Neil Peart, but he had stressed, and I'd heard it both ways, Neil Peart. In any case, yeah. So like at the time, I'd heard it, and someone else had suggested, and it was given to me that way, and really Neil Peart was like the hardest drummer available that I liked anyway. But it was like the most complex, hardest drummer, and I decided that that's going to be the first one that I'd learn. It like took me a year and a half, and like when I was like 14, nonstop, about a year and a half, just repeatedly rewind. But anyway, get back on the subject, okay? There's that song about the limelight, about the real relation, and what the real relation. It seemed to be ultimately getting to the word in between like computer architecture and computer platform. I'm actually really trying to decide if my memory serves me correctly in any kind of way about the embedding encryption, or if it's really just being what distribution of available information has really only meant based upon my memory. What a reputable standard for consensual participation means at a degree level of opportunity. If that's only simple, if opportunity is even the word, is really what the deal is, or what dimensional clause might provide that way, what that is to Washington, D.C., or television, or electronic god, or during circuit, or, dimensional clause, or, all that during, what intellectual might even suggest is duration, and what value that has, and what lifespan is, or, what that is to, a cumulative rollover, really, or what retroactive means in practical placement, whatever it means or is decided to mean or whatever. But anyway, yeah, so I was thinking about something like that, and that word relation. It's kind of like the way it's pronounced and spelt, okay? And with the R-E, it's like 94, and with the R-A, relation and relation, I mean, it's normally pronounced, I mean, it's almost, a person, it's kind of like, when a person's like been involved with like it, I mean, it's like when they hear it, they know how it's spelled virtually automatically all the time when they hear how it's used, okay? Well, anyway, that's like one of the words, okay? But anyway, and it seems to be ultimately getting to like the paper 56 is 10, 10 being spelled out being 39, but really the numerical value being 1 and 0. And 56 is 10 is like 94, and it's ultimately, had led to the Roe v. Wade thing, and, how you got it all wrong, it's kind of like you've seen it on television, okay, and it's like the news, okay, and it's like 61, okay, but I've seen Roe spelled both ways with the R-O-E and the R-O-W-E, R-O-W-E being 61, like news. In any case, no matter how you seen it, it was on the news anyway. It's like, how you got it all wrong, And it's like the difference between an adoption and abortion. Or what 56 is 10. I mean, throughout years and years and years and years of like studying African American, and then actually deciding that, the M is in and the M is in, and something about the Jehovah's Witnesses marking, the year, I think it was 1914 is the beginning of the last days. But I've seen it both ways with the 12 Federal Reserve Banks, of the beginning of the 12 Federal Reserve Banks being 1913 and 1914. I've seen both versions of studying it that way, and it's kind of like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, can anyone make their mind up over that kind of stuff, or is it just really the left side, back side, and what programming is, and distribution and networking, to what only distribution of available information is, whether or not if the programming codes is ultimately getting to, really what I'm really talking about right now. And that Roe v. Wade is kind of like something about the spirit of adoption being representative of some alphanumerics of 206, or what the country is to the county, or Brazoria County, or Brazoria Country, with the same practical application of like some retroactive, like reserve reverse, and, exact opposite, kind of like principle, like when you see the P it's pronounced, when you see the P it's not pronounced, and kind of like when you see the R it's pronounced, and when you don't see it, it's not pronounced. But, it's like integrated, that way. And it's like, it's still like, something about integration and circuitry in that way. So anyway, it's kind of like something about the symbolic representation on the backside of the you've heard that airborne stuff about the Air Force, okay? But something about the spirit of adoption in my mind, it's kind of like, like a telepathic birth, as far as I'm concerned, okay? It's only like 3 words, like a phrase, okay? It's alphanumerics is like 206. And geographically, I live like a Brazoria Country, Brazoria County, Pearland, Texas thing. It's kind of like I study all that stuff for like all the years, okay? It's like a symbol, and something about the Sarbanes-Oxley financial instrument. That way of what a symbol is, even to the drum and the Zildjian symbol, something about, Switzerland and the summit meetings, obviously ultimately getting to, an issue of whether or not anything beyond business and corporate law is going to reflect, beyond categorization and the itemization beyond business and corporate law, that way of like itemization, going through it and straight into probably, again, the same deal about categorization of, the aggregates of monetary domestic and gross national product, that way of like the M1, M2, and M3 of like the aggregates that way. And it's something that seems to be like something about the civil rights issue and the flags that give the impression of like United Nations, yet though at an international level, what international banking systems is, or what type of organization as compared to what NAFTA is, as compared to what NATO is, or what United Nations is, or the General Assembly, and what the flags are, the buildings, and what that is in Geneva, Switzerland, in the summit meeting, that way, what human capital is to investment, or what that is to SAN software and international financial management, or the acronym, being SAN, a storage area network, as compared to securities and annuities network, that way. And what the human capital really is to like human rights, or, what kind of grade, for it is written, all that stuff about biblical prophecy in that way, is for it is written, it's like only 4 words, and it's kind of like a 4 is like 39 if you want to just have to, get into the ERP, the ERP thing of like exclusionary rule provision and sovereign immunities, governmental amnesties, and executive powers of, just the thing about, the ERP. Yeah, for real. And anyway, it seems to be like really the deal about what human capital is in that way of what human rights or human civil rights suggest, something of Geneva, Switzerland, and summit meetings, and not limited to. And it's only available information of really what my situation seems to be, really what available really is, and when available is really the real thing, and or I don't even want to say it, a deviating, version, really, truthfully not. That's really, I don't want that to be a concern, but really I don't want to be, blind and naive about, my own words coming out of my mouth at the same time. But yeah, so there's something about the Geneva, Switzerland, and that being venue, and distinguish the difference between what a commercial building is, what the television means, and residential. I mean, if it's really ultimately getting to what a circuit is, and like a stationary engineer that way of a television, what a fixture is in real estate in that way, or what an easement really suggests of international law of what importing and exporting really is in that way, and what protected waters is around the United States of like what a tariff is in reality of like international import and exporting of like a maritime law, and where maritime law deviates from like federal aviation or what J. Edgar Hoover in the Federal Bureau of Investigation. J. Edgar Hoover's like, I mean, the thing about the word amphibious and certain factors involving military in that way, and I can't even excuse anything other than even biblical reference in a spiritual way of the rapture, the second coming of Christ in that way, or even the resurrection into the Mount Olives, and ascending back up into heaven. So I'm like, equating equilibrium, of something like in my mind of something, something where and where I was at about the Fort Stockton, Texas, and the geoprism, like a rainbow thing, okay, or what that movie with Chevy Chase and that laser is about, the movie Best Defense, and what biblical reference in the way of like money's a defense. I mean, so many things about just words and phrases. It's kind of extremely frustrating sometimes when it seems to be the only connectivity. It's just a phrase that may be the only issue of lacking the experience of like wherever source of and what it means, what that source means, where it's coming from. Um, sometimes it's just like really based upon experience. But anyway, it seemed to be like the deal about the Permian Basin plateau, and in that way of something of Orion performance monitoring. It seemed to be like the deal about the cover of the book of Orion's performance monitoring, the balloon thing, the 99, and the 71 thing, a balloon being 71, and balloons being what is it, 71, and I think it's 90 anyway. It's almost like a Brazilian thing, but anyway, I'll have to think about it real quick. Yeah, it's 90 anyway. So it's like the 90-degree right angle and a whole bunch of stuff about it, and I'll have to think about it real quick before I go any further with that. I'll have to think about it. But anyway, something about my mind about the song 99 Balloons and all that, Agent 99 and Get Smart and all that stuff about, Yeah, anyway, so anyway, that book cover about the, barometric equator and condensing residuals, and it seemed to be like a phrase of like network operations and network management, and something about the balloons that way, and even representative of even night vision in that way of what a nanoluminance means in the depths of like the Deep Star 6 thing as compared to night vision in like the atmosphere, and what nanoluminance is through the color code. That way of like, the 3 would be the big deal in my mind about the impedance and ambience of nano units, and those are the 2 colors that are used, is the pastel green and the pastel red of nano vision and night vision in that way of measured in nano units like that. So anyway, yeah, so that seems to be like the 3 colors of night vision, and yeah, there's something about univision that way, but yeah, I'm already going on close to 20 minutes. I'm going to take a break here real quick pretty soon, but anyway, I'll just, have a huge amount that I want to talk about. I might go ahead and light up the place with some lasers and some special effects lights, maybe some 3D animation, some fractal animation, graphic animation, but anyway, I might do all that. I'm going to take a break here and decide if I'm going to really get kind of like into it, yeah, so anyway, there it is right there.